Hello and welcome back to another episode of Geek with Glasses. In this video, we are going to pit the iPhone 5S against the iPhone 5. Let's see what the speed difference is. Apple claims twice as fast with the new A7 processor and its little daughter processor, the M7. But let's see how they actually fare. I've got both these phones imaged pretty much identical as far as the apps that are running on them. I went ahead and turned off Wi-Fi. I turned off cellular data, so they're in airplane mode, connecting to Wi-Fi only, no Bluetooth connections. Nothing that would slow them down. I closed all of the pre-running apps on the phone, so let's go ahead and boot these up, see the speed difference, run some actual benchmarking, and see which one comes out on top. Let's get to it. Okay, so power on speed test. Let's get this done. We've got the iPhone 5S on the left and the iPhone 5 on the right. So let's go ahead and power these bad boys on and see what happens. See how this goes. I would expect there not to be too much of a speed difference upon boot. I would expect the 5S to be a little bit faster, but I don't think it's going to be twice as fast. Just based on the fact that it's a boot process. It's not running applications. So here we are. We're in a few seconds waiting, and the iPhone 5S is up and running, ready to unlock, and there's the 5. So the 5, like I said, not drastically different as far as speed to boot, which I was kind of expecting. I wasn't expecting it to be drastically faster. I know they've got their claims of twice as fast, but it's twice as fast depending on the job that it's doing, and boot up is something that's gonna take time no matter what. So we get a little bit faster performance. I'd actually gamble to say that the difference between these two was roughly the same as the difference between the 5 and the 4S. A little bit of a jump there. So let's just immediately jump in and actually run our benchmarking application and get the actual numbers and see what happens. So we've got the same benchmarking information. One thing that I noticed right off the bat when I launched this was that if you notice for memory information on my 5S, it shows me a total of 999 megabytes, whereas my memory information for my iPhone 5 is 1015 megabytes, so just over a gig, just under a gig. I find that kind of interesting. But let's get this test started. We'll let this run. And it really doesn't matter when we start it because it's going to just be doing basic tests, but it'll be nice to compare the two. So, the new A7 processor, they are claiming it is twice as fast. It's literally going to be twice as fast as the iPhone 5. And, a lot of that is going to depend on the tasks that you're doing. It is, as you can see, some of these initial numbers, it is going to post up some better numbers when it comes to actual performance. Just for a little backstory, I went ahead on both of these phones before we started running these tests, and I closed all background applications. I put them both in airplane mode, and I left Wi-Fi on. So they're both, they're not trying to connect to a cellular data. They're just connecting to my Wi-Fi. There's no Bluetooth that it's associating to. So we're getting a good, clean speed test to see which one is going to be faster. And I'll be honest with you, I already ran this test, and I was actually pretty shocked by the differences that the phone posted. Not per se in total speed or capability of the iPhone 5S versus the 5, but the actual numbers that that the iPhone 5S posted versus the iPhone 5. And again, I would like to go back and compare my iPhone 5 to my 4S and see what the difference was and how much of a speed difference there truly was. But you know what? Apple says twice as fast as an iPhone 5. We're taking a look at it. So you would automatically expect to see twice the amount of frame rates, right? Well, if you're looking here, it might be hard to see on camera, 59.9, 59.7. So that's the same in my opinion. And again, it could be this type of a rendering that we're seeing very similar frame rates. We go into the 3D rendering of the helicopters, and we have roughly hovering around the 55 to 56, starting off slow at 47, but it's climbing. So it is hovering at about 50, so around 47, between 47 and 50, and between 55 and 56 here. So a little bit faster, not much, maybe 5 or so frames per second faster. And that's it. So we'll go ahead and cancel, and let's take a look at the numbers. So let's scroll to the top of the list here. So we get an overall system rating of the iPhone 5S being 5,444 with is that a 6 or an 8? 3634 for the iPhone 5. So let's scroll down. CPU numbers. We can see we get a 24,226 versus a 36,047. And you'll see integer math is almost double the 5. The floating points, not very much more, about 100 or so, 160 or so more per second. 507 versus 183, so finding prime numbers much faster on this phone. Random string is 3143 versus 2305. 95 to 97. So this actually came in faster on the data encryption, 97 megabits per second versus 97 megabytes, 95 versus 97. And let's look at disk. This was one of the ones that I found interesting. So 12,233 and 21,822. So the numbers actually post relatively the same other than the read. The memory, the solid state that they're using in the 5Ss reads much faster, 153 versus 329. So that's where the variation is, because they're both writing around the same. In fact, this one wrote slower, and it may have been this specific test. I'm curious to see if these numbers are consistent full time. Memory, much faster memory on this phone, even though there's less. There's only 999 megabytes versus this 1,015. This is 5,018 total memory score versus 3,573. And 2D graphics. Roughly twice the speed for 2D graphics. There's the numbers, you can take a look at them. Huge difference for solid vectors. Double for the transparent vectors. Almost double for the complex vectors. More for the image reading, not a significant amount more, and almost double for the image filters. And then if we go to 3D, our final number, you'll notice that the 3D performance on the 5S is not drastically improved, literally a 100 mark score, less than a 100 mark score faster than the 5. So I'm very curious as I play games and get into it, how these two fare, because this one's literally reporting just a little bit faster in 3D graphics, but vastly faster in 2D graphics. So enough with the numbers. Let's try some real life tests. Let's actually go out and let's launch a game and see what happens. I've got Real Racing 3 on here. And let's see how these fare when it comes to launching. Remember, this one has faster reading memory than this one, and I think that's where we saw the speed improvement when the boot up happened, and I have a feeling we're going to see this one boot up a little bit faster than this one based on the fact that this one reads off RAM and loads RAM a lot faster than the 5. So let's go ahead and launch Real Racing. Yeah, just slightly faster. It's not vast changes. It's not like huge. It's not monumental. There's a lot to be said about the claim of being twice as fast. And again, I think one of the things where we would see vast improvements with the performance is if this app was actually optimized for 64-bit. We only have the 32-bit chip in the iPhone 5, whereas we have the 64-bit in the iPhone 5S. So there's launching a game. I won't get into the game because I can't see frame rate, so playing the game on cam isn't really going to make much of a difference. Let's see what else. Let's try loading the cameras, and these are both going to be relatively quick. So yeah, they're both pretty quick. If we were to switch cameras, they both came up at roughly the same size. There's my face. Hello. So one of the other things that you'll take note is, and I've noticed this just by playing around, and we're going to do a full camera test as well. With the new f2.2 aperture on this camera, they've actually widened the frame. I'm not sure exactly whether it's an 18 millimeter, 60 millimeter, 50 millimeter, what the widest aspect ratio is. Not aspect ratio, but the widest frame is much picture. But this one has a wider frame. I was looking and I noticed that there's very subtle differences, and you get more in the frame with the iPhone 5S than you do with the iPhone 5. But again, let's just jump back out of this real quick. One last quick test. Let's go ahead and open up a weather app and see what happens there. As far as opening the app, almost identical. This one loaded just a tad bit faster. So again, I don't think we're going to be seeing vast improvements in speed right off the bat based on the fact that code has not been written to take advantage of the 64-bit that the iPhone 5S comes with. And once the developing community, the developers out there actually start modifying their code to truly use the 64-bit architecture on the CPU of the A7, that's when I think we're going to see humongous differences in performance and speed. So we're not going to see it right away. We're going to have to wait a few months and start watching those apps update as they come down, as they reprogram, or new versions of apps come out that are 64-bit. So it'll be very, very cool to watch over the next few months. But there you have it. There's a quick speed comparison between the two phones. And like I said, not huge differences. But you know, it does show and post some better numbers under the benchmark. As always, stay tuned. I'm going to do some more videos in my iPhone 5 versus 5S comparison, as well as I've got a general overview, kind of my opinions on what Apple did with iPhone 5S. And where they're going with the technology. So stay tuned for those videos. Look forward to putting those out for you. As always, like, subscribe, and leave some comments. If you have some questions or if there's something that you would specifically like to see between these two phones, let me know. I will definitely you know, make a video and show a comparison. I've also got a 4S that I need to update to iOS 7, and I would actually like to get all three phones just to see the step level, you know, see how the 4S runs compared to the 5, compared to the 5S, and see if there's that big of a difference in the speed jump between each of these phones for those of us who are crazy enough to go out and buy a new phone every year because Apple puts it out. So anyways, as always, like, subscribe, comment. I said that before. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/geekwithglasses, Twitter, twitter.com/geekwithglasses, and you can find us on Google Plus as well. Pretty much all the social sites. Comment, like, subscribe, interact. I look forward to hearing from you. Thanks a lot. We'll see you in the next video.